Hey guys, Thunder E here, and Marian was trying to solve a Rubik's Cube.
Almost got it.
Yeah, he's pretty close. Welcome back to our professional photographer review of smartphones, and this time it's the Pixel 3, or at least the Pixel 3 XL in this case. How's it going, Marian?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
I'm good. So this time Marian has decided to use the Pixel 3 XL, and you know the deal. He's going to play around with the phone, using different scenarios, what he likes, what he doesn't like. So without even wasting time, let's jump in.
Let's do it.
We're starting with looking at the portrait mode, which, in case you have seen some of our videos, I am not the biggest fan of the digital artificial portrait mode because I'm a little bit spoiled by the big cameras I'm using with big sensors, where you get this natural fall off of sharpness towards the background. But I want to admit that the Pixel 3 is for the first time doing a real nice and organic job at this, at least to my eyes. You still get like the little unsharp edges around the subject. Actually, it seems like the resolution of where the sharpness hits unsharpness is a little bit reduced. I can see those like segments where a few pixels have been combined, those segments where you go from sharp to unsharp. But nonetheless, the general feel of this seems to be more natural to me than the other phones we have tested as of right now. So I like what's going on here. My usual complaint is that the background is becoming very blurry whilst the foreground always stays in focus. So that's the same here. You see maybe the hand of Przemek, my kitesurf buddy, is fully in focus, whilst the fins are slowly turning into a blur. Same here. This one is actually really interesting, I think, because the phone did a great job at gradually making the object that he's holding in his hand, the kite, more and more blurry towards the wingtip that's far behind him. You see, that's actually what you would expect from a big lens shooting on a big sensor. So here there's actually a really organic transition going on. The phone achieves this with just one lens compared to other phones like the iPhone and I think the Huawei and the Samsung who are using, these phones are using several lenses to get this mode. So I don't know how Google does it, but it does a very good job at this. But I think because there's a lot of artificial intelligence behind this, sometimes it goes wrong. Like for example in this photo where the beach behind my model in this case should be completely out of focus, but there are some very sharp areas, as well as the building here on the left side that randomly stays sharp. I don't know why this happened, but you have got those shots every now and then in between where things go a little bit wrong. Well, I guess it's a lot of mathematics. So on this one I was trying the HDR enhanced mode. I want to say that I've been shooting a lot with the HDR Plus mode. I had this one basically always enabled because I thought that it did a very good job at, for example, recovering clouds that are in the background. It did a very organic job. The last phone that we've been testing was the iPhone what was it? SX Max. So, and I thought that the iPhone was doing a very good job at those smart HDRs, and with the Google Pixel it's called HDR Plus or HD Plus. HDR Plus Enhanced. So I left the HDR on because it was doing a very good job, and in this one I tested the HDR Enhanced. So I was expecting that it really tries to recover as much as it can, for example, out of the sun here, which has a big white halo around it. So this is like, the sun is gone, basically. There's nothing left inside the JPEG. But then I took the RAW file and recovered, and I could actually recover even more of the clouds around. So in the RAW file you have more information than in this particular case in the JPEG. It does look very natural though, even the enhanced HDR mode. And the reason why I took this particular image to test, or this particular environment to test the HDR enhanced mode, was because I was expecting the phone to shoot several images and stitch them together. But in this case, there's so much moving water surface, and I would have expected some of the water drops to have some halo ghost water drops around them. But it seems like the Pixel just took one single image to do all this HDR enhanced mathematics. So I don't know how it did it. It did a decent job. you get a good file out of this. The only downside about the HDR enhanced mode is that the phone is thinking about your photo for about a half second or maybe even a second after you did the shot, and then only you can take another photograph. The phone does a terrific job at shooting at dark and night times. This particular shot has, I had a fun party, a Halloween party. This is DJ Confetti, who has been playing for 9 hours straight, which is just amazing. So, and I shot everything always in RAW and JPEG mode. So, and as I said earlier, the regular HDR mode was always on because I thought it did a great job. So here's a JPEG compared to a RAW file. I actually put a little bit of contrast on the RAW file to match the JPEG. Both of the files look very good. No complaints about JPEG compression or actually artificial sharpening or whatsoever. Just interesting on this one is that the HDR naturally recovers the highlights that are actually difficult to recover manually in my program Capture One that I used to use for my RAW files. So yeah, the phone does a great job at giving you nice JPEGs even at nighttime. Okay, and on these photos I'm looking at the nighttime mode, which is quite an amazing thing because it seems like the phone is sort of scanning the environment that you're shooting. I am very impressed by whatever the phone was able to capture because like you see my friends being lit up by a candle basically. I am not used to seeing skin tones whenever a picture has been taken with a candlelight. Even more impressive than that is that the light that you see in the background, the blue light, is basically nighttime. This is leftover street light that's coming into this bar. So this photo, the environment that I took this photo in was much more moody than what you see here. I would almost go ahead and say like it was looking like this to the human eye, or even like this. So that's amazing, and to the point that I'm almost wishing, or I am wishing that the phone did not think about it that hard, because I want to be able to capture the mood, and the nighttime kind of destroys it a little bit for me, because you get a real natural, like a real neutral file out of an environment that is dark and moody. So the mood is being removed, and it gives you some sort of like scan of the nighttime environment that is completely unreal. So maybe it's a software thing. Maybe it would be a good thing for Google to give you two versions of the photo, where one version is like the moody version, the other version is the enhanced or whatever, the recovered version. So maybe they can work on that, and maybe it's just a software thing. But as of right now, the nighttime mode is giving me a little bit too much. Here, this shot I took, I just wanted to show you this one as a comparison between a JPEG and a RAW file, just to look at textures maybe and grain. I think that the Pixel JPEGs look great. You don't necessarily need to shoot RAW files unless you really want to like be able to recover highlights and shadows. I'm not concerned about the JPEGs. There's not so much sharpening as in other phones that we have tested, so it keeps a little bit of an organic feel to the photos. Apparently the lens is just better than for example, LG's lens. There were a few images, especially in dark environments, where I shot compared the RAW files and the JPEGs. And there were a few moments where the JPEG just compressed certain areas of the image and made them very flat. But that's really nothing I'm really concerned about. So, I mean, if you consider shooting in a professional manner, then always shoot RAW files. But the JPEGs of the Google Pixel 3 look pretty good. So the self-portrait lens, the front-facing camera, has a wide-angle lens, which is awesome. It's really fun. I wish it was on the back of the phone, because I don't usually take selfies, but I did one just to prove that there is this wide-angle camera. Here you see RAW file compared to JPEG. Weirdly, all of the RAW files that I've shot have a little bit different proportion than the JPEG. I do not know why, but it's just a fact that it is like that. I wanted to show you this one in particular quickly because it is shot in a backlight environment, and backlight is always a tricky one for cameras to handle, and the Google camera does really well. So I'll just increase the contrast a little bit, make it a little bit darker maybe, a little vignette, like the small things to make the photo a little more dramatic maybe. Saturation, they come a little bit gray as RAW files, but that's okay, you can always crank up the saturation. And now I'll actually make it even a little bit more dark for the sky. And I wanted to show you that the shadows, here in this case my face and my wetsuit, you can still go ahead and recover them, which is great. Phone does a good job. RAW files are looking good. The lens seems to be pretty sharp. So yeah, I'm satisfied with whatever I'm seeing here.
So you've seen Marian's thoughts on the Pixel 3 XL, and it sounds like you really like this phone.
Yeah, I do like this phone. It was really fun to work with. Fun to dive into the ocean with, but also one of the reasons why this video is coming so late is because we actually fried basically 2 Google Pixel 3 cameras, phones.
The IP68 rating on this thing is whack, it's false. Do not put this thing in water because most likely your USB ports will not work, so it was hard for us to transfer the files over.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, file naming is absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's not good. It's really not good. On my shoots, I always have a person called Digital Tech who is dedicating his day to organizing files, troubleshooting the camera if necessary, and taking care of color profiles. The Google Pixel file names are all over the place. It's a real mess. The Digital Tech would never work with me again, basically. And also, like when you start editing photos inside the phone, then they come out without color profile, which is interesting, unexpected. Well, but still, it still doesn't take away from like the quality of the camera. It's really fun to work with. I like a few little things inside the camera that, for example, the exposure point is sticky.
Yeah.
So like you hit a cloud or whatever, and then you move the phone and it's going to stick to that point. But it's really clever. Lots of artificial intelligence in there.
Yeah, Google software, I think they've done a good job. You like the portrait mode.
I did, yes.
The night shots you like, but you'd rather have it keep some of that mood in there as well.
It seems to be trying really, really hard to give you rather a scan of the environment than actually a moody representation of what you're taking a photo of.
So before we wrap up, you really like this phone. Does this beat out the Huawei? Mind you, we've not done the Mate 20 Pro yet. This is the P20 we tried, so...
Well, it does take great photos. It is really fun to take photos with as well. Bursts are really fun, and like, especially when you're doing like action sports, like kitesurfing, the bursts are really great. But when I first held the Huawei in my hands, I was looking at the screen at the photos, I was like, wow, this is actually coming really close to like a little, what do they call it? A little like point and shoot camera. Whilst this one feels like a cell phone camera, but a very good cell phone camera. And especially like there's a brain behind this one. So that's where actually Google might be even like superior to my DSLR camera, because my DSLR doesn't think about my files in the same manner as the Google phone does. So something's happening there.
So there you have it. He likes the phone, he's enjoyed it. We of course need to fix the IP68 rating.
Yes.
But if you have any questions or any comments for Marian or myself, let us know. Definitely we'll try and also add, not today, but I'll add images for you so you can check out. And this is Alaska, who I'm allergic to, by the way, guys. So I don't just want to have a cat in the video, like some of you claim. But definitely follow Marian Sells on Instagram. It is Marian Sell. And I also leave the link for you guys down below. Don't forget to like and share this video, favorite this video, subscribe to the channel, and always enjoy your entertainment.
Bye bye.